Darwinex Zero is a new way of trading, and like everything new, it has its peculiarities. Today, we are going to finally clarify what the famous VAR is, how the risk engine of Darwinex Zero works in relation to it, how it calculates to replicate the operations of our virtual trading account in our Darwin, and most importantly, how we can benefit from it. If you're interested, disclaimer, and let's get started. The first thing we need to know is that this information is a synthesis between the data I have gathered from studying my own trading accounts and the information that Juan Colon provided us a few days ago in the live webinar we conducted, which, in case you missed it, I'll leave here for you. In other words, it's a mishmash of information, could have said cocktail, but mishmash sounds more down to earth. Well, since Darwinex is a place to publicly expose our performance in the markets as trader managers with the aim of attracting investor capital, we must consider that the first thing an investor wants to know before putting their money on the table is what risk they will assume. For this reason, Darwinex bases all investable indices, called Darwins, on the same level of risk to make all the strategies on the platform homogeneous so that they can be compared and the investor can decide which index to invest their capital in. VAR is not an invention of Darwinex Zero. VAR stands for value at risk. In other words, the risk our strategy is assuming. This concept is widely accepted in the world of financial products, but to establish what risk any index is assuming, or, more accurately, will assume in the future, we need to determine three parameters: time horizon, with what probability, and what level or amount of loss. Pay attention to this. In other words, all expressed in percentages, we would be determining how much we are going to lose, with what probability we are going to lose, and in what period of time we are going to lose that amount of money. Currently, in Darwinex Zero, the risk measure being worked with is a 5% VAR at a 95% confidence level. What does this mean? Well, for 95 months out of every 100, our Darwin will lose less or the same amount as 5% of the capital, and 5 months out of every 100, it will lose more than that 5%. From the investor's perspective, for example, if we invest €5,000 in a Darwin, for 95 months out of every 100, our investor account will not lose more than year 325/month. However, at least 5 months out of every 100, that maximum loss of minus year 325/month could be exceeded. Remember, we're talking about probabilities. In investment, there's never certainty about anything. The risk engine of Darwinex Zero, or what some know as the algorithm, replicates the operations of our virtual trading account based on that previously defined 5% VAR. In other words, the risk engine will always try to ensure that the investable index or Darwin replicating your underlying strategy does not exceed that 5% of risk. And for that, the risk engine needs to learn how you operate, with how much lot size you open trades in your virtual trading account, for how long, how much negative floating you assume, etc. This would be the training stage of Darwinex Zero. It's the phase where the risk engine is being calibrated for the subsequent creation of your Darwin. Depending on the risk you are assuming in your underlying strategy with your trading account, the algorithm will adjust that risk with a multiplier to the 5% VAR. You can find this multiplier already calculated within your own Darwin in the Darwin Live Trades tab. But how does this multiplier work? First of all, we must know that the risk engine of Darwinex is dynamic, meaning it adapts with every trade you make, so the numbers may not match perfectly. Be very careful. Here the best practice is to maintain as stable and regular trading as possible. To easily understand how it works, let's work on 3 examples with different levels of risk that we can be assuming in the underlying strategy with our virtual trading account. In this case, we are trading in a way that our risk exceeds that 5% target. To check what risk our underlying strategy is working with, we just need to go to the Strategy Analysis tab from the main page of the Darwin, and at the bottom, we'll find the section Signal Account Risk Management. As you can see, the underlying strategy of this Darwin is working with a 98% VAR, above the 5%. This means that the trader is assuming more risk than the ideal, so the risk engine to decrease that 98% to a target risk of 5% will multiply the leverage that the trader is using by a number less than 1, that is, it will act as a divisor. The calculation would be as follows: 5 divided by 98 equals 59. Therefore, his multiplier, although we can't see it, is probably around by 59. This means that for every 1 lot the trader opens in his trading platform, the risk engine will replicate the same operation in the Darwin but with 0.59 lots. It is decreasing the risk. In this case, we are trading with a risk lower than the ideal. Let's go back to the strategy analysis tab to check that this trader is operating in his underlying strategy with a risk of 1.37%. Therefore, the risk engine, to increase and reach the target 6.5% VAR, will multiply the leverage that the trader is using by a number greater than 1, so here it will indeed act as a multiplier. The calculation would be as follows: 6.5 divided by 1.37 equals 4.74. The multiplier will probably be around by 4.74. This means that for every 1.00 lot the trader opens in his trading platform, the risk engine will replicate the same operation in the Darwin but with 4.74 lots. It is increasing the risk. In this last example, we will be assuming an ideal risk or very close to that 6.5% VAR that Darwinex establishes as the target. In this Darwin, we see how the trader is already working on his own with the objective set at a risk of 6.72%. That is, the intervention of the risk engine this time will be minimal. It has very little to manage since the trader himself is already doing it in his underlying strategy. In short, the risk engine will act neutrally. The calculation would be as follows: 6.5 divided by 6.72 equals 0.96. The multiplier will probably be around by 0.96, which means that for every 1.00 lot the trader opens in his trading platform, the risk engine will replicate the same operation in the Darwin but with 0.96 lots. That is, the performance curve of the investable index or Darwin will be practically the same as the performance curve of the underlying strategy of the virtual trading account. Before finishing the video with my conclusions, remember that if you haven't registered in Darwinex 0 yet, you can do it from the link I leave in the description of this video with a €20 discount on the first payment of your subscription. And also, if you like this type of content, you can subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, leave your like, and activate the bell to not miss the next videos I upload. I'm brainstorming and 1,000 ideas are coming to me. Just a heads up. Let's finish. After understanding how the risk engine of Darwinex 0 works, there are, in my opinion, 2 important points to consider. First, if you are a profitable trader, regardless of the risk engine, you can operate exactly as you would in any other circumstance. But knowing how the Darwin works, you can make adjustments to your trading regarding leverage. It's pointless to leverage a lot to earn virtual profits in your virtual trading account. The only thing that counts is the percentage of profitability that will be replicated in your Darwin. You can browse the platform a bit and you'll find different types of winning trades, with more, less, or equal risk to the ideal. And yet, as I said, all of them are winners. If you're profitable, you're profitable. And, secondly, if you are a beginner or developing trader, the ideal would be to try to adhere to the 6.5% VAR that Darwinex 0 proposes as the ideal. In other words, make the risk engine work as little as possible. This way, your profitability curve will be very similar to the profitability curve of your Darwin. That is, you will have more control over what is happening at all times when your trades are replicated. And besides, you will be avoiding losing a $100,000 virtual account by acting recklessly, which is already difficult. But when we're starting out, we all do crazy things. Conclusion: we always come to the same point. The key is to do the best you can. For now, I bid you farewell. See you in the next one.